illumination. There we go. Oh, mm. Well, my hair is a mess as usual. Uh, sound check if there's anyone out there. It shows zero watching right at the moment. Oh, I feel so unwanted.
Yeah, weird. Did you remember to send out a
Oh,
notification?
yeah, we've had Dave Van and Jeff Kablock and Lars already say stuff. Now I've got two people showing. Okay, sound check. Everything looking and sounding good out there?
Hi, everybody.
Uh, hey, David. I presume that means I'm sounding okay. There we go. Looking as ugly as usual. Yes.
You are not ugly. Stop being mean.
Oh, uh, anyhow, so it's a little windy outside right now. And there's a little bit of thunderstorm activity out there. It's not raining here right now. It was a little earlier, but not anymore. So let me see what it looks like in the distance. No, not much that direction. And so that's uh, that's good. Lauren and I were working on some stuff today, and there was wet concrete basically. So it was covered by the time we left, but it would be advantageous not to have any rain on it or in the area. That would be highly desirable at this point. So it'd be good if it didn't rain. Oh, and as you can see, we didn't make it in the field this week.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Lars, if you say so.
Hi, Lars.
Uh, but anyhow, um, the weather was pretty ugly this this weekend. I mean, Friday it drizzled all day. Saturday it drizzled all day. So we postponed our trip to tomorrow. We'll head out tomorrow. Everything's all loaded and ready to go, basically, except for fuel. And I need to get fuel and ice, head out to the ranch, pick up the trailer with the quad and everything on it, and then do a few little things, and then head out by noon tomorrow. And then we need to be back. Yeah, by mid afternoon Friday. That should give us plenty of time. We shall see what the situation is when we get there. But I'm planning primarily right now to finish those dumps, um, and then get on the. I'm going back down the decline and start mining there, and we'll see where we're at on that. But um, need to get some more ore. Lars says hi, Eva,
Hi, Lars.
and so we've got the mill basically ready to go. Um, did you ever test the solution in the tank, little one?
No, I haven't done
Okay.
pH or anything on the tank yet.
Okay. So we need to test that and start grinding ore. But one of the reasons that we need to get out in the field is we don't have enough ore for a full batch, and the ore we do have tends to be kind of damp. So we want to try and get some drier ore. And the next week or so should be finishing up the RC46. Basically, the housings have been worn to the point where stuff can get around the movable jaw, and the toggle's no doubt worn to some extent, but that we can actually shim the toggle support. It's bolted into the frame. It's a nice design because everything that wears can be replaced, you know. But I say the plan is to just take those 4 bolts out and put a piece of 1/8 inch strap. You know, drill 4 holes in it, put a piece of 1/8 inch strap, bolt the seat back on there, and that'll shim everything 1/8 of an inch, which should give us, you know, uh, whatever slop has developed there. The sides of the housing, that is to build that up to about 1/8 of an inch away from finished surface, and then use hard facing to do that, so that we have a much tougher surface for the future, and put it back. Hey, Mr. Lodak, how's it going? And put that back into service. Um, Everything else seems to be going pretty well at the mill. Um, the what do you call it? The oh, John. John, you apparently, as far as I can tell, what's happened is on your channel you have comments turned off. Okay, that means apparently that when you comment on one of my videos, I can't reply to you. The reply button is not there, so I can't reply to you when you leave a comment. So there's been like 2 or 3 comments that I've gotten from you in the last week or so that I simply haven't been able to reply to, and that's why I'm not ignoring you.
He wants to reply.
Yeah, I say so. You might check that out. In terms of the tape measure, nah, when it comes to gold, we use the scale, not the tape measure. But we have, I think, 4 loaded cartridges at this point, and the stripping circuit is designed to strip 1 cartridge at a time originally. I need to get another couple pumps, and then I can strip 3 cartridges at a time. One of the problems that I foresee is that the mill out there is we have a solar system on it, and could be, John, I'm not sure, but at Lauren's house I just leave the system on overnight, whereas out at the summer lab that's going to run down the batteries. So I'm not sure what the best fudge is for that. We don't like to leave the generator running when we're not there, because if something goes awry, you're not there to deal with it, like a fire starts or something like that. So we're going to have to do some kind of adjustment, and we'll play with that. But we're actually ready to start stripping cartridges right now. But I'd like to get another couple pumps first, but we'll probably start working on it as soon as we're back from this trip out in the field. And we tried the lye solution to see if it will kind of clean up the resin a bit and allow more gold to load. The answer is apparently no. So I say it was worth a shot. If it would allow us to load more gold on the resin before we actually put in the stripping circuit. That would be good. Is the red soil that dyes the hand red, is it really gold dust that melts directly without washing with water? I don't know English. I use Google Translate. This gets a little complicated. Let me go to Google Translate.
We don't know what language he speaks.
Looks like Arabic, but they have an auto detect.
Farsi.
There's an auto detect option. So there's a name there. No. Well, let's see. I'm pretty sure that's Arabic. Let's see. Let's go from English to Arabic. Okay. The red material is probably iron oxide. It is mixed with gold. It cannot be smelted directly, but must be concentrated first. Okay, so now I'll take this, Control C,
and hope he's actually speaking Arabic.
Go to this, Control V. Looks very, very similar. Now let's see, go back here, hit enter. Control C, go back here, Control V, enter.
Hope that works.
Did that make sense? Control C, back over to translate. مدى الخمرة خيولة الحراق أكسيد الحديد. Okay. يكلت ما التاب لا يمكن سهرها مباشرة.
You're really murdering it, whatever language.
Wilkin يجرب ترزيق أولا. Oh, I probably am totally messing it up.
Yeah, I would hazard a guess you're saying something extremely offensive without even meaning to.
Control V.
Just saying. You should know better than that.
Control C. Back here. Waw. W-A-W, huh? Let's go to Arabic here. this to English. Let's see if we can. I say it's an interesting challenge. Come on. WAW. Wow.
Is that a good wow or a bad wow?
I don't know. It's a non-specific wow. Yes. Okay, that probably says yes.
Yeah,
Let's
and
try
apologize if you accidentally said something offensive.
Oh, let's see.
Because I'm just warning you right now, I found this out the hard way with Google Translate. There are times when even when it's speaking in normal language, it'll accidentally say something really offensive.
Arabic. Let's see.
So I always start such conversations with, anything offensive is Google's fault.
Why? Apparently, YAS is probably YES. Uh, oh, okay, so let's go from Arabic to English. YAS. Despair. I guess it didn't do too well. No Chris, still no Jim. I guess they're busy doing stuff. He hasn't said anything specifically. Haven't seen him in over a week, so I don't know. Anyhow, so right now we need to get more ore so we can leach more material, get that going. We need to get another couple pumps so we can do 3 cartridges at once. We need to figure out how we're going to power the whole system for a reasonable period of time. And we, let's see, I think I'm going to get some more empty cartridges so we can put more resin in the cartridges and just have more on hand before we have to do them. Hey, Red Wing, how's it going? Did I try ammonium hydroxide by any chance? No, Chris, I did not. Don't have any.
We can get some and try it.
If that's true, Jim, John, I'm sure that Jim would be happy with that. Good, Brian. Ammonia solution in water. About what concentration of, what dilution ratio? Just pure or diluted, Chris? So that's basically where we're at. The truck, I've done a few little tweaks on that. Post something in chat so I can then try and reverse what I did. There's moderately dilute. Okay. Like about 5% by volume, Chris. Let's see. Let's get a little notification here. I think I saw one from you. You're getting notifications in chat. I can see them. There we go. Let's see what happens now. Okay, I went back to can we treat the resin to hold more gold? Clicked on your comment, and it does not have the reply option available there, John. Yeah, we could try that, Chris. Ammonia solution. Now, would you expect that to dissolve some of the gold too, Chris, or just the other stuff? Post here in this chat. Okay. Now, is it something that I can save as, print, send tab, create, read aloud, translate to English? Ooh, I could translate that to English, huh? Okay. Um, translate to English. Khalid Saad. Hello, Khalid. Yes, nothing that we have, Khalid, is rich enough to smelt directly. It always has to be concentrated. Okay, Chris, we'll consider that as we go. Ambercept 21K 1620. Okay, I'm not familiar with that in particular, so I have no opinions. Let me know how it works out, Brian. Let's see. Oh, nothing. Could you please just frickin' do something, you stupid goddamn computer? Gosh. This back and forth. Well, it doesn't apparently do back and freaking forth. Idiot. Damn computer. At this time is concentrated enough to melt directly. Control C. Control V. Really? I didn't want to do that. No, I don't want it to. I want it to do that. Control V. That's annoying. Huh. Now it doesn't want to allow me to post in Arabic. Control C.
Huh. Well, I don't know what to tell you
Control
there,
V. Okay, that's at least English language.
YouTube is, yeah. You may have to.
Hello, enter. Stupid ass computer. Oh, I hate fucking computers. Let's try just deleting everything and just a little test. TEST. Enter. Oh. I can't post a goddamn thing. Paste as plain text. Undo. Gee, why not? Let's try test.
You may just have to write.
Okay. Nothing I write anyhow, anyway, anywhere is posting to the thing. That's what I'm saying. I can type it in. I hit enter. Nothing happens. It just sits there. I know you don't know what to tell me.
Ask Chris. He knows everything.
No, he doesn't know everything, but he might know this. Why it is being so difficult, I don't know. I can't do anything. T, it's not showing it. You hurt the confuser. Yeah, something like that. Okay. So apparently I am unable to post anything now for some bizarre reason.
Hope that's not permanent.
I'm sure it's not permanent. All I got to do is shut down the live stream, turn off the computer, start everything again, and it'll work fine until I do something else. Paste as plain text, select all, add pages, cut, copy, undo. Let's try undo for whatever. T, enter. Now it's doing it. Control V, enter. Now it's doing it. Recovery for gold, silver, platinum, palladium, rhodium, and uranium, huh? Okay. I say that'll be interesting to see how that works out, Brian. How much platinum and palladium and rhodium and stuff are you theoretically have? Uranium, I wouldn't worry too much about, as it's not very valuable.
It's also not easy to sell.
I think he's using Eco Goldex, Chris, but we'll see what he says. But have you analyzed the Eco Goldex? Have you analyzed for the platinum group either fire assay or solution assay? And if so, what method did you use and who did you use? Because the mechanisms for emplacement of various minerals, generally you're not going to have good gold and silver concentrations and good platinum group concentrations. No uranium. Okay, yeah. Hopefully not. Yeah, you don't really want to be playing around with uranium if you don't have to. But how did you find those platinum group? What is your analysis? Still to prove the PGMs. Okay. I say it's without actually having analyses that show PGMs, I personally probably wouldn't have worried about it. If I thought there might be platinum group, I'd done the analysis first. Okay, Chris says there's a particular circumstance where you can get the PGMs in gold when you've got serpentine or chromite. Yeah, I've never dealt with that myself, Chris. Compressed Brill XRX by Hazen.
Another?
Well, that's at least a laboratory analysis. Not an expert myself in the kind of interferences. What kind of concentrations of platinum group were you seeing? Were they high grade or just moderate grade sort of thing? Say, I've seen XRF give spurious results on platinum group before. Low to moderate. Yeah, I had an XRF. It was a Bruker salesman was actually demoing it on some of my ore from down there south of Tucson, and it was showing, um, 1 ounce per ton. I think it was palladium, but I'm not sure. And yet the fire assay didn't confirm that. And so I say it's XRF is one of those things that it has some weaknesses. Yeah, I say you may have them, but I would go with a different analysis to confirm it. And then if you got XRF showing it and a different analysis not showing it, then try a third type of analysis to again, confirm or deny that sort of thing. If you've got moderate grades, then it might be worthwhile. But yeah, that's one of the things. There's a number of different ways you can look for it. You got your wet chemical, you got fire assay, you've got I'm not sure, but I mean neutron activation is another way to look for things. So there's a bunch of different stuff. So I'd see what kind of alternative methods are available where you could, try something else. Platinum group is one of those things that it seems to be reported much more frequently than it exists for a variety of reasons, which is why I'd want some confirmation. It's not a bad idea, Brian. But yeah, it's if you do have platinum group, if the Eco Goldex recovery, which it says it does, you might be able to do reasonably well on that. We'll have to see how well that works. Interesting possibilities. Yeah, I'd go after the gold first. The silver should be. What is your silver to gold ratio, Brian? I mean, one of the things that, in our particular ore, it's about 1 to 1. I think that's an excellent question, Jeff. I do not know. The other question is how big were the beads and how effective is an XRF on a small thing? Okay. Well, you got a fair amount there. There's your answer from Chris, Jeff. How big were the beads? Because if you got a small bead, then your detector is likely to be getting backscatter from other stuff besides just the bead. Um, that would be my concern about that. Although you could, to some extent, maybe just simply smash the bead fairly flat, and then you get a larger surface area. Put it against something that's not going to give you a backscatter um, contamination sort of thing, like say carbon.
Oh, good.
You know, like flatten the bead, lay it on a flat piece of carbon, and then zap it with your XRF and see. Smaller than 1 millimeter. Yeah, that would be awful hard, I would think, for an XRF detector to focus exclusively on. So that would be my concern with that. I may be wrong, but that would be my concern. On the other hand, if you heat it, pound it, turn it into a foil, you could get less, more surface area compared to the depth, and also you can keep it basically whatever the detector zone is. You can try and kind of fill up the detector zone. I don't think an XRF picks up carbon. I believe the atom is the atomic weight is too small, so it doesn't pick up carbon. I'm not sure. Uh, Chris, do you know? Will XRF pick up carbon? Interesting, Brian. Yeah, I would say I don't know. Another thing we're looking at with all of our stuff is to crush and pan um, some old Qpels and things like that, and go from there. Chris says it depends on the XRF. Okay, well, as long as the carbon doesn't give you an anomalous result, it wouldn't really matter. Um, Say when I did the thing with the Bruker, somebody said, "Hey, Rock Butcher, we're doing okay here. My brother's in the hospital getting checked out for something right now, so hopefully all is okay there. But that is definitely questionable at this time. So I may be getting I should be getting a phone call, probably sometime during um, the podcast here, and I've already warned him that my side of the conversation will not be. Thank you, Rock Butcher. Appreciate it. I've already warned him that my side would not be confidential. So if he wants to talk to me confidentially, I'll put Eva on while I go talk to him. He's conscious, lucid, and all that other stuff, and not in any significant discomfort at the present time. But he's showing some symptoms that are potentially serious. So they're doing a number of tests. He went in there a couple hours ago. So they're still running tests and stuff. Oh yeah, get used to it, Brian. Plumbing and this and yep. Thank you, Brian. Me too. I've known him all my life, being my older brother and all. It would be very, very strange if anything were to happen to him. But, as we're getting to the point where it's going to happen to one of us sometime here, hopefully in the distant future, but we shall see. Um, but yeah, that one of the things about getting a mill running properly is running smoothly to where everything is balanced well and keeps running.
Hi, everybody.
Without plugging and stuff like that. Correct, David. That's why I try and live my life so that there's nothing left unsaid, you know. Um, but uh, it takes a fair amount of tweaking, Brian, before you get everything running pretty comfortably. Has been my experience because you have an idea and you implement that, and it doesn't work the way you thought it would. And then you go and make a tweak, and that doesn't work too well. And then finally, thank you, Patrick. I appreciate that. And then you get a few things. Then sometimes you just come with a totally different approach, like I did with that agitation tank, the distributor on the bottom and the pumping. That was just a pain in the butt. But by just hanging pumps with downspouts, that seemed to work pretty good. I really don't know, John. I say it's let's see. Oh, come on. Could you stop all the baloney? Let's see what we're doing here. There's Gruber Dad. There you are. Let me do this one. Still not showing that. Let me go to your channel. John. That's not one of yours. That's just a link to something else. Oh my goodness, could something just work reasonably smoothly here? Moose Scrapper? Not sure, John. We can see about trying to figure it out some other time. Yeah, that's what you're trying to do, Brian. You want to go ahead and get the system as automatic as possible. Right now, I use a lot of human intervention in the crushing and the grinding operation especially, but that's because um, I'm not really satisfied with certain things. And so before I worry about putting conveyors twixt hither and thither and yon and this and that, I'll just go ahead and do it manually. Right now, I can keep up. I can keep up with the RC46. I can keep up with the Stutenroth. So it's not hurting production any. The problem that I have actually with both crushers is that if you get fairly moist ore, it tends to pack. In the case of the jaw crusher, as the jaw is working, it just packs it into like a dirt clod and it won't feed. I found for that a simple solution. Since the Stutenroth can eat up half-inch minus material no problem, I manually screen it to half-inch minus, which goes pretty darn quickly, and then just stockpile the half-inch minus by the Stutenroth, and then feed the half-inch plus through the jaw crusher. And without the fines in it, it crushes without sticking very much. So that seems to have solved that problem fairly easily. Um, the problem with the Stutenroth is that as it feeds into the Stutenroth, into the top of the mill, the chute and everything, it just tends to get stuck. It just kind of clumps together and gets stuck, and it's quite annoying. Um, and I would prefer to have a mill that doesn't try and blow stuff back out the inlet. My mill is much better on that, but it doesn't have the speed into the total throughput or the uh, wear durability of the Stutenroth. The Stutenroth is big, thick, heavy parts that take a while to wear out. My mill, it requires maintenance more frequently. Um, we may next winter we may try and build a bigger one. Um, I've got plans all the way up to 8 inch, and that should, you know, that would be interesting to see how well an 8 inch bob mill, Bowen ore buster, works compared to the Stutenroth overall, considering once I throw it in my mill, I don't have to do it. It blows it out, it classifies it, and it transfers it to the agitation tank. So it provides a lot of things that I wouldn't have to do now, you know. So we shall see how that works. But I don't like everything on the Stutenroth because it's designed to be integrated into a more complex system that has classification, transfer, and stuff like this added on to it. It's not integrated into it. Um, I would start using carbon and a resin cartridge in series before I blended them into the same material, Brian, because you may have substantially different characteristics. And especially in the elution, the stripping part, you might need to do one thing for the carbon and a different thing for the resin. So to start with, I'd put them in series and go, like carbon, then resin, and then switch them and go resin, then carbon, and like that, because this way you can isolate the issues. If you blend it together, then you're going to combine issues. Now, there may not be any big problem, but how do you know that ahead of time? I would definitely start in series first. My cartridge holders and cartridges are so cheap. I think the cartridges themselves are like $4.50, something like that.
Well, they were, but inflation.
And the cartridge holders, I think, were in the neighborhood of between $10 and $15 each. So it's pretty inexpensive to set it up, and then you have the flexibility. For example, I've got 5 cartridge holders in sequence. The first one is purely a particulate filter, and then I've got, under normal circumstances, I'll be using 3 cartridges. If I'm doing testing, the first cartridge will be the test cartridge, and then I'll have 3 to make sure that I'm getting good recovery after that. Hey, Thalia, how's it going?
Hi, Thalia.
I hope you heard Eva say hi. How's everything going, Thalia?
Look how long my hair is getting. Isn't this like radical?
Hi, honey bunny.
Hi, honey. Oh, that's so cool, Talia. Congratulations. Yay.
Sweet. Man.
Yeah, I
80.
couldn't believe it, Talia. Look how long it is. I mean, we're talking. This is the longest it's ever been in my life. Isn't that cool?
And yeah, Thalia, I think the steel gray looks good on her. You know, she was kind of self-conscious about it, but I think it looks very pretty on her. Yeah, honey bunny, especially as where you're at, it's not just hot. It tends to be rather humid too. Right now, let me check. I think it's about 60, 65, something like that.
70 something.
Oh no. About 68 right now.
My phone says it's hotter than that.
Well, that's your phone. Maybe your phone is hotter than that. Source of cheap cartridges. Hold on. Let's see.
You gotta go through Amazon.
Let me go. Returns and orders. Here's our orders. Cartridge holder. Let's see.
Put cartridge holder. I would just put cartridge.
Well, I have a feeling. Okay. Here is a link. These are the cartridges themselves. They have a screw-on cap. They got filters at each end. You put the resin or the carbon or whatever in there. Control C. Control V. Okay, there's the cartridge itself. And let me go back here. And returns and orders. Filter housing. Let's try that. Why is it searching everything on the planet instead of my orders? An ultraviolet sterilizer. Huh. Page 1 of 4. 4x8 virgin coconut shell activated carbon. That's cool. Sterilizer. No, where's my damn filter housing? Oh, is it doing a stupid limitation on your account, your orders? Where's no past 3 months? No.
Where's the past year in this case?
Say in 2021. Is that what 2021 means? I'm guessing that it means in 2021.
Yeah, it means everything in the year 2021.
Let's see. There's that. I'll find it here in a second. Theoretically, filter housing, search orders. Can't find it.
Well, theoretically, if you go to the link for the cartridge, it should say people who bought this also bought. And
yeah, that would be kind of nice. Filter housing. No results. Why? And I found somewhere where it said year Now I don't see it. I have your account, your orders. Search all orders. That would be nice, yes. Filter housing, search orders. Oh my God. Why is it always so difficult where it can't just fricking do what you ask it to do? Which is search all my orders for something that says this and that only.
Water filter housing.
Filter housing. Search orders. All kinds of filters. 0 filter housings. Oh my God, there we go. No, light plus sediment and carbon well filter. Yeah, it's got everything on the planet except.
Yeah, I'm looking at all the filter housings, but
Yeah. Say it's like, what the heck?
Water filter housing, 10-inch.
Yeah, your browsing history, blah, blah, blah. Returns and orders. Why can't it just search all orders? Archived?
Yeah, you can check archives.
I have no frickin' clue. There are no archived orders. So I guess that's a no. Okay.
I'm not seeing any that look precisely like ours.
Yeah. Yes, it's a common water filter cartridge housing for like $15, which is really cheap. And it fits those cartridges. And I can find those cartridges in my history.
I'm looking at the hydronics ones, but
yeah, do you have a hydronics?
RO, but
yeah, I mean, this is, it's just insane.
Yeah, I know.
They never make it simple. Just search all my orders for the phrase filter housing. You know, is it that hard, you stupid piece of crap computer, to simply search all my stuff for those words? What is so complicated?
People, I will get on the other computer and see if I can find it and read you the exact name.
Well,
since I seem to have better luck than you on this stuff.
I don't need the exact name. What I need is the fucking link. You know?
I understand that.
I say, why the hell? Yeah, it's like that Pentec one there, Honey Bunny, but about half the price. No, I don't want anything there. Yeah, that's 1/4 inch, 3/4. Yeah, it's very similar to that 150435 Honey Bunny, but again, it was roughly, as I recall, about $15.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I can't just look up my history. Maybe it wasn't on. Was it on Amazon?
Yes, it was on Amazon, and I am looking for everything now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's so freaking stupid. I get so tired of these.
Orders placed in 2021. No,
could you please stop showing other stuff there? I'm not sure, Chris. It was the one you sent me a link to. Was that eBay or Amazon, Chris? Let me see. let me go to last refuge, roasting dishes, gold dressing agent. Let's see if I can find Castmaster 5 kilogram deluxe kit. Yeah. MIBK. Wow. Reagents. Man, that gets so annoying.
Pumps.
Air filter.
Hydronics HF310 CLB 34, etc. Clear
Yeah, that
housing
one.
with black rib cap for RO infiltration.
When did we buy it? For $15.81.
The order was placed August 18, 2022.
And how did you find it? Just go back.
I am on 59 orders placed in 2022, and I am on page 3 of your orders for 2022.
Okay,
So right there,
2022.
go to page, scroll down, and go to page 3.
That's another thing that cracks me. I was like, why can't you go to page 3?
Half down. There it is.
There's that thing. Okay.
There you go.
Here we go.
See? I told you I'd find it for you.
Yeah.
Good Lord, dude.
Let's see. Control C.
My sodium citrate's there too.
Amazon, Chris. Control V.
$15.81. Industrial process filter housings is the category it's in.
Yeah, filter housing would be nice, huh?
Industrial process filter housings, not water filter housings, which is in the
I
home
didn't.
kitchen
I just
category.
put filter housing.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And there's a water filter cartridge by Hydronics that goes in it for $7.25.
Yeah. So we're looking at $15.81 for the housing and $7.25 per cartridge. You want to order me a couple of those cartridges, little one? See? Say, why can't you just
Okay, you want
type
me
in a
to
search?
you want me to buy you a couple of these right now?
Yeah,
huh?
a couple of those right now. Yeah, get them on the way.
Add to cart, and I'm gonna look through Amazon because there's a couple of things I may want.
Yeah, because and this way, Brian, you can stack them. First of all, you're never going to get 100% recovery, period. But at reasonable flow rates, you usually want to have a series of cartridges like we have shown here, so that this one may be getting almost everything, and then this one's getting most of what's left, and this one's just kind of scavenging. But as this one fills up, and you can't necessarily tell that by just looking at it, this one automatically will take over this position. It's now getting most of the stuff, and this one's getting most of the rest. And that way you can avoid getting losses into the tailings without too much trouble. With our spot test that we're using, we needed a couple of spot plates too, little one.
Yeah, I can get those.
Clumsy fingers is good at breaking them.
I cannot believe the price of my perfume right now.
You might want to see there's a spot plate with a grid of 5 in one direction, because that's what we're actually using generally is 5. But and the thing, Brian, about those cartridges, they have
these are 4.
like fiber discs at each end to contain everything. Hard plastic spot plates?
Yeah.
Oh, that means I couldn't break it, huh?
Polyethylene 12 wells, premium hard plastic.
You could try. What is that other thing? Is that clear?
Borosilicate glass. 9 spot plate. $305.
Yeah. Looks like it's clear. Yeah. $300.
I know I'm not getting it, but I want. Oh, look at this. A 10-pack of polyethylene premium hard plastic ones for $37.99. Or I can get one for $10.
I don't know. Let's get one to start with and make sure that it doesn't have any reactions. But yeah, Brian, that's what we've got to say. I got 5 filters because those little fiber filters at each end of the cartridge will fill up with silt pretty quickly. So my first filter is a particulate filter, and it's just a fiber particulate filter. And it's for fine filtration. Depending upon what your solutions that you're going to be running through it have in terms of particulates, you may need to be a little more serious than that. And Chris says, get more of the porcelain ones too. They put up with stuff the polyethylene won't.
Okay,
as in like organic solvents.
Look those up. Oh wow!
What?
They have the big 27-ounce bottle of 4711 on Amazon.
Okay.
Only $35.
All righty, take care, Chris. So, the one thing I found is that these filter cartridges tend to plug up with silt, and then your flow rate goes way down. So that's a real problem. I presume, Brian, since you're going to be running a an agitation tank, and then I'm getting my solution from the leach pad after the agitation tank. I'll dump the agitation tank out there, and then it has to go through the tailings basically. So quite often I have a fairly clear solution. However, with what you're setting up, I don't know what you're doing to remove the particulates before you run it through your resin or your carbon. And if you're not cleaning the particulates out first, you may need to see about replacing those fiber discs with, say, 60 mesh screen, or in the case of carbon, an appropriate mesh screen, whatever. And so you may need to, in both cases, I think it's fairly easy. I know the one on the lid is pretty simple. Just take the lid off and go whack on a hard surface, and the retaining ring pops off and the filter comes out. And it's real easy to get to. I think the other one, going to have to use some kind of a device like a screwdriver to kind of push the retaining ring off through the filter. I just take the bottom of the cartridge and just take a hose and hose it out, and that seems to clean it pretty good. But if you got some pretty dirty solution, then you may have to change things up a bit. But as you can see, for each cartridge assembly, you're talking $25 complete, cartridge and holder. The top of the cartridge holder has some screw holes. I just took some sheet metal brackets I found at the hardware store, drilled the appropriate holes in it, and then put sheet metal screws through that, and screwed the other side to a backboard. And that worked just fine. The other thing that I found between these cartridges, I have taps, little valves, and those I did see. Just a second here. Where were they? Saw them just a second. There they are. Barb ball valves.
Okay. I've got the
Control C. So what I did here was Control V. Between each of these cartridges, it's hard to get the nipples screwed in to where they're all tight and everything's lined up. You take care, Rock. So I put unions You got 3/4 inch plastic pipe nipple, a 3/4 inch plastic pipe union, 3/4 inch plastic pipe nipple. And then on one of the pipe nipples, I drilled and tapped a hole 1/8 inch pipe thread and screwed in an 1/8 by, I think, 1/8 inch pipe by 1/4 inch barb. And then after, 4 to 6 inches of tubing, I put the tap so that I can get a sample out of each one. Hey Shaggy, how's it going? And that allows me to sample between each cartridge in real time. By using our spot test, we can then see what the solution concentration of gold is roughly. It's not a highly precise measurement, but if the sample from here and the sample from here look virtually the same in the spot place, you can tell this cartridge is not removing too much gold. Okay. And so you then know that this is basically loaded and you can take it out of circuit and move everything up. That's what the results were that we showed on the video this week. These are samples from these taps, and then we run them through a centrifuge to clear the particulates out of them. It makes it easier to see what's going on.
Okay, they'll be here on the 13th.
Okay. Okay, Brian.
I can't get my perfume, so.
Okay. Oh. So I say that allows us to tell when these cartridges are done. As a general rule, we'll tap these towards the end of shift and then set up the spot plate with the samples and the KD3 to evaporate. Then we show up the next day, we've got our results from the end of the shift before. If we needed them faster, we could use a blow dryer to dry them out. Something about the drying process causes the precipitation of the gold. And so that's, what we did. The KD3, do you know what I'm talking about, Brian? Making hay, huh? Hope the sun's been shining, honey bunny. But I say that allows us to test the resin and find out when it's loaded so we can reliably take it out of circuit at the right time. It eats it away. The KD3 is a precipitant. You got my email, Brian? I can give you the guy's contact information. He's still got some left. It's $50 a pint was the price. I got it from 2 weeks ago, a pint for Lauren. And you use literally 1 drop per sample. So if a pint is a half a liter, you're talking 500 times 20, roughly 10,000 samples for $50.
Provided it doesn't die. Sometimes
he's slow on his responses, Brian. But he did get back to me, but he gets tired of being spammed. If you can't get through to him, let me know. You like popcorn, honey bunny? Well, if you're ever in the neighborhood, remind me and I'll make you some of the world's best kettle corn. Okay? But and there's other possibilities. For example, Brian, you can use stannous chloride solution It's not as effective. You won't get as dark a result, but it does work. I'm one of the best kettle corn cooks on the planet. Yeah, try stannous chloride then, Brian. Do you know what a spot plate is? That would suck, Shaggy. Okay. Yeah, try stannous chloride with that, Brian, then for now. Yeah, I've done that. I've heard of it, blind dude. I looked at the video. It looked interesting, but not compelling. I've been pretty busy, so wasn't hugely motivated to go see it. Although I'd like to see it sometime, but I would like to examine it in detail to see if there's structural details that line up block to block, so to speak. I don't think it was too far away, blind dude, but I forget. Um, yeah, what's the name of that? Uh, blind dude. It had kind of a, was it Montana monoliths or something like that? Um, Megalith, Montana megaliths, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, Shaggy. I've still got my Oxford edition. Yeah, so I think it was Montana megaliths or something like that.
Yeah.
And I say it looked interesting, but I said I'd go from block to block and see if I can find a structure that lines up so to see whether it was essentially a um, a dike, which is an intrusion of lava, basically that hardened underground, and then it's harder than the stuff around it, so it kind of weathers out, and then it could get cracked by weathering and such. And of course, all the stuff would tend to be locked together because it was all one piece to begin with. But I would just have to um, look at it personally with um, a loop at least to get an idea of, because it looked like it could plausibly be a natural thing also, whereas with a lot of these megalithic walls, it's clearly artificial, whereas this didn't appear to be clearly artificial to me, and it didn't appear to be any part of some kind of structure. I mean, if you have 4 block walls, then you're saying, okay, it was enclosing, especially if one has a doorway in it. Okay. But if you just have a single linear structure with cracks in it, that makes it a little harder to attribute to human activity.
Bizarre.
But I'd like to see it sometime, absolutely. And let's say that's really fascinating. These megalithic structures, how they have these seemingly irregular blocks that match so closely to each other. Megalithic means giant structures, and
big rocks, if you want to be.
If you look in like, probably the stone structures in South America are the most well known, but basically you have large blocks of rock, sometimes tens of tons, that sage wall, there you go, that have, say, apparently irregular surfaces, but that irregular surface perfectly matches the irregular surface of the one it's on top of. And it's like, that would have been a tough carving job. You know? Correct, Honey Bunny. So megalith, big rocks. Um, but it looks as if you took the chunks of rock and they were like, no, not like the pyramids. The pyramids are regularly shaped blocks. Okay, it's easy to get flat to meet with flat. But when you have something that's irregular, trying to perfectly meet with something else that's irregular, that's a whole different situation. And I say it, if you were to have those chunks of rock and just kind of roughly stack them and then soften it and kind of tamp it together, you would get an effect very similar to that. They kind of interlock and everything, but it's a very tight joint, but it's a very irregular joint.
This is interesting.
And that's tricky to do with fabrication.
Representative Anna Paulina Luna says the FBI said they can't guarantee that the Biden informant won't be killed if they're unmasked.
Uh-huh.
They can't guarantee his safety wherever they are.
Of course not. And so I say it's a very interesting thing. Yeah, if you had a way to soften it, then it would make sense, Kodak. I agree. But as I say, with things like the pyramids, since they're fairly flat surfaces, there's other ways of doing it. I agree, blind dude. That's interesting that so many places so far apart have such a conventionally labor-intensive construction technique. Okay. Now, there may be a methodology to that wasn't nearly as labor-intensive. And certainly, if you were able to relatively easily get irregular shaped blocks that are perfectly matched with it, they're going to grip a lot better. Yeah, that's going to give you a lot more strength of that wall than if they were all just perfectly flat. You know, in our construction, we use mortar as an adhesive between the flat because flat doesn't hold together too well. I agree, blind dude. I say the whole thing is quite mysterious to me. And I have a feeling there's a lot there that we currently do not understand. To some extent, you're correct, Honey Bunny. I'm not talking about the size, although that's pretty impressive, but the shape. Say, if you have, well, here's some pills. See the shape of the surface there? Now, make that shaped surface and then make a negative corresponding surface too. How much effort would that take using conventional cutting and grinding? I know that when I was just taking paver blocks and trying to meet those up with somewhat irregularly shaped retaining wall blocks, it would take me 20 to 30 minutes per block to get a joint that was about 1/4 of an inch wide, but pretty good a mesh. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, Jeff. Or maybe like the Oklahoma-Texas border along the Red River, that sort of thing, you know? I read a science fiction book once called Sam Westcott on the Planet Framingham, where they had square wheels on their vehicles because how else do you park it on a hill? But yeah, say it's interesting. I'm not sure what the heck's going on there, but say my gut tells me there's something we really don't understand. Also, and I don't know how many of you folks understand this, in Egypt, they have sarcophagi and stuff that have been made by basically core drilling and then breaking off the cores. And these cores are like about this big around. And this is in things like hard granite. And because of irregularities in the tool, they can actually see a spiral groove in the hole that indicates that the tool was advancing like a 16th of an inch per rotation in hard granite. And the the only thing we have that can even do that would be an ultrasonic vibrating thing where you basically have a cylinder of metal that's vibrating and you put an abrasive in there and then it just rotates slowly in order to keep the wear even, you know. And that's the only thing we even have nowadays that could do it, you know. So you look at this stuff and you go, huh, how'd they do that? And but yeah, there's some weird stuff there. Reality is more complicated than we understand. That's for sure. But anyhow, so when it comes to this week, we should be hitting the um, the road tomorrow afternoon to um, Montana B to finish the processing of the dump material that's readily accessible. And if we still have capacity to load ore after that, then go ahead and start sinking the shaft again, the decline. We're also going to inspect everything, of course, and see what conditions everything in, what changes may or may not have happened over the winter, and like that. So we should have fun next week. I'm thinking top of the hill because, okay, Brian, because I think there's a good chance we can get up there. It'd be interesting to at least see. Looking in the near term future to get a Gold Monster 1000. And I talked to, I believe it was Adam at iBreak for Bedrock, but I've actually personally seen them both work. Adam has a Gold Bug 2, and Boulder Dash has a Gold Monster 1000. And so I know they can both find some pretty small gold, some pretty small metal. And I asked him, I said, okay, here's what I want to do. I want to have a metal detector that can find relatively small gold that's easy for a relative novice to learn how to use reasonably well. And you don't have to carry a backpack like that. The GPX 5000 that I have of my brother's, I mean, there's a backpack. He's got it set up with a dongle and the earphones that operate off the dongle, and this and that and the other. So you got 3 different sets of batteries: the earphones, the dongle, and the detector. And then the detector itself is pretty crazy in terms of complexity. Now, it has tremendous ability, especially mineralized ground. I mean, it's specifically designed for that. That's why the damn thing originally cost $5,000. However, it's not easy to use either. And does Harbor Freight have any? Probably not the kind of metal detectors we want. We want something that's good at picking up real small stuff. If you wanted something to find, say, coins and jewelry at the beach, you might be able to find something at Harbor Freight.
Walmart has usually, I believe, they still sell whites.
Even says they sell whites at Walmart for less than $100. But again, that's the sort of thing. If you're looking for coins or artifacts or something like that, it's a totally different situation than looking for small pieces of gold. I forget who it was, whether it was the Gold Bug 2 or the Gold Monster. But if you have a toothbrush sized wire brush and you took one of those bristles, that's basically what the target was that they dug up one time.
Actually, Harbor Freight has a $70 metal detector.
And it was not a delicate, difficult to hear signal. It was a definite target. And that's all it was
one for $30.
A little piece of wire about that long, small diameter steel wire.
Walmart's got one for $30.
Walmart's got one.
National Geographic Junior.
A National Geographic Junior for $30. But yeah, I say we're looking for something
and
that'll
a waterproof one for $60.
That'll pick up, a little piece of gold like that big, and that's a different situation than gold and artifacts and stuff. Anybody seem to find? Did you say $7? How much was that cheap one?
$30 for the National Geographic Junior, and $67 and change for an underwater, for a metal detector they can do underwater too at Walmart.
$30 for the National Geographic Junior,
yeah,
and
they have a
$67 for a waterproof one.
And they have a K Moon one, whoever the hell K Moon is, that's like $40.
Yeah. So let's say they sell these real inexpensive metal detectors now that will get big targets at shallow depths, no problem. If you're looking for damn, I'm getting clumsy. If you're looking for that, within 2 inches of the surface, it's a whole different situation than looking for a piece of gold like that, down to 4 to 6 inches. Totally different situation.
Yeah, Walmart apparently has lots of options now.
Yeah. But anyhow, so as I say, for what we need a pretty good metal detector. And as I say, those guys, that's their forte. That's what they do all the time. I've actually been with them in the field, and I think they're good people and etc. So when they say, here's the difference, the Gold Monster is simpler and easier to use than the Gold Bug 2. The Gold Bug 2 is more complex and has a higher learning curve. Then I'm like, okay, I'll go for the Gold Monster. The price is about the same. I think the Gold Bug 2 is slightly cheaper if you're buying it new. Let's see what the current price is. Gold Bug 2. Metal detector.
Too much.
849, 781, 849, 799. So 800 plus or minus. Okay.
Like I said, too much.
Gold Monster 1000. 949, 1028. Yeah, so it's basically $1,000 plus or minus, depending on how much other stuff you get along with it. I can see that one of the big things, for example, this Gold Monster 1000 with Profine, it's got a pinpointer, it's got the earphones, it's got some other stuff I'm not even sure what the heck it is, you know. Whereas the one that's 950 is just showing the detector itself. So apparently for 1,028, that one's at Walmart. That one's got the pinpointer also.
Yeah, it may be through a third party website that through a third party sold on Walmart.
Yeah, it's got 2 search coils. You know, whereas the one for 950 only has 1 search coil. There's Amazon. It's got the whole bundle there, 2 search coils, etc. for 1,005. So, and say, that's what I'm looking at getting. My brother has given me permission to trade that GPX 5000 or sell it and take some of the money and buy a Gold Monster, because he understands it's not easy to use, especially I say you got the electronics module in the backpack, and so if you want to get down and start digging something up, you're taking off a backpack instead of just setting your detector on the ground. So say I'm looking for a Gold Monster. I forget exactly who it was. Somebody sent me a link. Yeah, John. Okay. John sent me a link for some guys who are selling around here and up in Kalispell, and they sold it real quick.
Oh yeah.
I was a little too slow. But yeah, I mean, they wanted something like $400 for a Gold Monster and $300 for a Gold Bug 2.
Yeah, we should keep an eye on Craigslist up there, maybe.
Oh.
Hi, everybody. Isn't it a lovely, lovely week so far? Kind of, sort of. Well, in case you missed it,
I missed it.
The Republican presidential campaign candidate slate is growing again. None other than Mike Pence has gone and registered himself to run for president as a Republican. Now, it should be noted that on Twitter, in the Twitterverse, the latest conspiracy theory going around is that Mike Pence made a deal with the GOP establishment and the Koch brothers to sell Donald Trump out on January 6th, 2020. In return for getting their unqualified support in 2024, so we shall see. You never know. Hi, blind dude. Hi, honey bunny. And in other conspiracy news, supposedly there was an investigation of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline explosion site underwater. And supposedly, on the video cameras that were on the remote operated vehicles or being held by the divers or something, there was a U.S. Navy boot found at the scene. Yeah. Supposedly.
Pretty hard.
Just one of those interesting things that popped up randomly on Twitter. Twitter is still, by the way, going back and forth about what is a woman. If you missed it, it was an epic meltdown. And it is, by the way, an extraordinarily good documentary. It really was. It was nice to be able to watch it free and for nothing. Because, one of these days I will subscribe to the Daily Wire. But until then, it was nice to watch it free and for nothing and leave a nice review on Rotten Tomatoes. Just saying. Yeah, honey bunny, they found a Navy boot at the bottom of the sea. Just bizarre, supposedly.
It's hard to lose your boot when you're diving like that.
Good Lord, Shaggy. That is crazy.
Pretty well attached.
Well, you never know. Okay. I found that to be one of the more interesting things that showed up in the Twitterverse as of late. All kinds of bizarreness is going on in social media in general. Now that we are in rainbow season, life is getting a little bit bizarre. Just saying. Evolution to expand 2 gold mines in Australia. Well, good for them. Let's find out what they're doing down there. Evolution Mining, Australia's 3rd biggest gold miner, announced on Monday it's going ahead with 2 major expansion plans at its Mungari and Ernest Henry operations. The company also said it would be paying special attention to any assets Newmont may shed after the world's largest gold producer closes the multi-billion acquisition of Newcrest Mining. At Mungari, Evolution has earmarked $240 million to expand capacity at the processing plant, which will extend the mine's operational life by 15 years to 2038. CEO Lowry Conway said the plant update is also expected to unlock a large regional resource base, lower all-in sustaining costs, and boost production. Well, good for them. From 135,000 ounces to 200,000 ounces between 2027 and 2032. The miner was forced to shelve the project at Mungari, located 600 kilometers east of Perth and 20 kilometers west of Kalgoorlie, in June last year over what it called an unsustainable local labor market. That's an interesting way of putting it. The expansion was always envisaged and formed part of our due diligence when we acquired Kundana and East Kundana properties in 2021, Conway said during Evolution's Investor Day. Having successfully integrated the operations, it's now the next logical phase of making Mungari a cornerstone asset of Evolution. Work is set to begin in the December quarter and is expected to take 30 months to complete, with commissioning scheduled for mid-2026. 17 more years for Ernest Henry. Evolution also announced that it completed a pre-feasibility study for the expansion of its Ernest Henry copper gold mine in Queensland, which extends the productive life of the operation by 17 years to 2040 and doubles ore reserves. The company will now progress to the feasibility study phase, it said. In under 18 months of owning 100% of Ernest Henry, we have doubled copper and gold reserves and extended the mine life out to 2040. By any measure, this is an outstanding achievement. The goddess will consider it an outstanding achievement when the metal actually comes out of the ground. But then again, the goddess has high standards for what she calls an achievement. Conway said in a separate statement. Evolution said it had committed $15 million to the feasibility study and 7.5 million Australian to the upcoming drilling program to deliver a further significant mine life extension. The Sydney-based miner also informed investors it had successfully restructured its debt maturity profile to increase balance sheet flexibility. Fancy talk for moving fake money around. This was achieved with a $200 million private placement and the replacement of the existing $590 million Australian term loan facilities with a reduced $300 million 4-year term loan facility. The goddess has to wonder about that, and the goddess is going to be taking a pretty close look at some of this shenanigans going on with the books, at least what's put out there publicly. Things are getting a little dicey in that department there. The result of this restructure and rescheduling will be an additional $445 million of liquidity available over the next 3 years that was previously scheduled for term loan repayments. Evolution highlighted there was no increase to its overall debt level. Yep. That sounds a whole lot like our federal government somehow. The goddess may just be being a little bit paranoid about that, but that kind of talk about moving those quantities of money around and being able to do a whole lot more with it magically not costing any more anywhere, that tends to be a little bit of a red flag. Just a little marinara pennant waving lightly in the breeze there. Just saying. Mm-hmm. Just one of those weird things. Polymetal considers divestment of Russian business. Huh. Let's find out what's going on here. Gold and silver producer Polymetal International is considering divesting its Russian operations, and senior managers have resigned from Russia-related duties after the imposition of U.S. sanctions, the company said on Monday. Washington last month included Polymetal's Russian business and Poly-US, the largest gold producers in Russia, on its latest list of sanctions targets, aiming to punish Russia for the invasion of Ukraine. In light of recent developments and in the interest of preserving shareholder value, the board and the special committee have decided to consider all possible options available for divestment of JSC Polymetal and its subsidiaries, Polymetal International said in a statement. JSC Polymetal is the holding company for the group's Russian assets, which accounted for about 2/3 of group revenue in 2022. Really now. Vitaly Nesis, Chief Executive Officer, and Maxim Natsimok, Chief Financial Officer, Natsimok, have resigned from all executive positions with and terminated their employment at JSC Polymetal and its subsidiaries. Nesis and Natsimok will retain their positions with Polymetal International to continue to focus on its Kazakhstan assets, as well as plans to re-domicile from Jersey to Kazakhstan and shift primary listings from London to Astana. Polymetal said it was ring-fencing its Russian subsidiaries to ensure sanctions compliance. All service agreements between Polymetal International and its non-Russian subsidiaries and JSC and its subsidiaries have been terminated, the company said. The goddess has her doubts about the wisdom of this policy. Because as it stands now, here we have Mad Vlad, the invader. Everybody in the world, or at least everybody in the United States and parts of Europe and, this part of the world, which is actually a very small part of the world. We might want to keep that in mind here. Everybody in this very small corner of the world has thought it was a brilliant idea to cut Mad Vlad, the invader, off, to stop his ability to trade with anybody, to stop his ability to sell his metals to anybody. Well, now, there's this group called BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, if the goddess has her memory in order on this. Just between those 5 countries, you're looking at about 1/4 of the world's population. Okay? Let's just look at that. Right, just with those 5, you're looking at about 1/4 of the world's population. Okay? And with China, you're looking at the country that holds about 70% of the supplies needed for the Great Green Agenda, and about 60% of the manufacturing needed to ensure that all the privileged idiots in the West who are currently waving rainbow flags and being idiots have cheap shit to buy to celebrate Rainbow Month. And Russia, which is 65% of the world's fertilizer. Yeah. This is a really, really winning strategy to piss off the people that control a large amount of your shit. Yeah, this is really brilliant. It should be noted that while we are making rude noises about Mad Vlad the Invader, and we are making semi-rude rhetorical noises about China, we seem to be completely ignoring the reestablishment of apartheid in South Africa. That happened this past week. If you missed it, they decided to go after water rights first, since they have just about the worst problem of any developing nation when it comes to water resources, which are now being confined only to certain people. The ones that are dark enough to be darker than a paper bag people. You know, apartheid works both ways. This time it's going the other direction. Not unsurprising. We're talking Africa here. And meanwhile, now these yo-yos that are running Russian mining companies are happily divesting themselves of any control whatsoever over Russian metals. At the same time that the BRICS, plus another 40 or 50 nations that are sending representatives to the newest BRICS meeting in June, are floating a gold-based currency to trade amongst themselves. And considering that even without all those 40 or 50 other countries, including Saudi Arabia, that are looking to join this little alliance here, you're already talking 1/4 of the world and a significant portion of the world's resources. This is not going to go well. The goddess has her doubts about the efficacy, the utility, and the sanity of these sanctions as they stand. The goddess is going to reserve her view on this issue. I have given up on any degree of sanity coming out of our government, at least at this point. I mean, any degree of sanity at this point is just, it ain't happening, okay? Inflation and game. Everybody pays and nobody benefits. That's right, folks. Remember, inflation is not a flaw when it comes to fiat currency. It's a feature. Everyone loves an early inflation. The effects at the beginning of an inflation are all good. There's steepened money expansion, rising government spending, increased government budget deficits, booming stock markets, and spectacular general prosperity. Yeah. All in the midst of temporarily stable prices. Everyone benefits and nobody pays. In the terminal inflation, there is faltering prosperity, tightness of money, falling stock markets, rising taxes, still larger government deficits, still roaring money expansion, and now accompanied by soaring prices and ineffectiveness of all traditional remedies. Everybody pays and no one benefits. That is the full cycle of every inflation. That is a quote from Jens O. Parson, Dying of Money, Lessons of the Great German and American Inflations, 1974. You might want to read it. Good book. As we all know, this past week, the absolutely inevitable, totally ridiculous, and completely unthinkable thing happened. And the Malarkey administration was able to sign their multi-trillion dollar budget deficit deal thing that may be going on. Okay? It's a thing. They signed it. Of course they did. Nobody in their right mind actually believed that Kevin McCarthy was going to stand firm on this. If you believe that, well, the goddess has some oceanfront property to sell you in scenic Arizona. As a matter of fact, the goddess will sell you the London Bridge, since that's in Arizona too. America may now be entering the part of the inflation cycle that nobody likes. Well, no shit, Sherlock. The feeling of prosperity cultivated by COVID stimulus payments, expanded unemployment benefits, and student loan forbearance is wearing off. Prices for goods and services caught up with a temporary surge in incomes, and bank savings are disappearing. Real incomes are in a steady decline. Spoiler alert, they have been for the last 11 quarters, by the way. And Americans are finding only the enduring effect of all that stimulus is higher prices. The illusion of prosperity fades in the end. The next round of stimulus and lower interest rates is almost certainly on the way, but it probably won't provide the same artificial boost. No, there is this thing called the law of diminishing returns, okay? People are relearning how the story ends, and the confidence underpinning the value of the fiat dollar is eroding. We should be so lucky. Any effect is likely to be smaller and shorter in duration, if there is any effect at all, besides immediate higher prices. Officials can borrow and print new money, but they can't produce actual wealth. Well, no shit, Sherlock. They can't create abundant goods and services for people to purchase all those extra dollars. Bureaucracy is a leech on the private sector and its ability to produce the stuff which makes lives better. Unfortunately, this leech keeps growing. Last week, Republican leadership crafted a debt ceiling agreement which enjoyed more support from Democrats than from the members of their own party. The misnamed Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2023 provides for unlimited deficits, at least for the next 2 years. The goddess would like to point out, this is setting the stage. Bear in mind that the United States is actually the only government that has an official debt ceiling. This is setting the stage for them to say 2 years from now, oh, well, nobody else has a debt ceiling. Nobody else has limits on deficit spending. We've been with no limits on deficit spending for 2 whole years now, and everything is great. So let's just stay here. Yeah. Watch for it. Just watch for it, people. We already know where this is going. Not even our government is immune to the pinch of the later stages of inflation. Interest payments on federal debt are consuming ever larger portions of the federal budget. The dollars needed to make these payments will be borrowed. It is the spiral of rising debt and higher payments. Even more troubling are the growing signs of weakness in the private sector. As mentioned above, real wages are steadily declining. The leading economic indicators are falling. The yield curve is inverting. Virtually every reliable measure is signaling the U.S. economy will soon be in a recession. And it already is and has been. With one exception, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics reporting on the jobs market. Last week, the BLS issued another blockbuster report, which showed businesses created 339,000 new jobs, about 85,000 more than economists predicted. It was just the latest in a string of reports to beat expectations. For many, the jobs data is just too good to be true. Of course it is. The BLS has a long history of cooking the data to paint a rosy picture. And we know from history how politicians are liable to act in the later part of an inflation cycle they created. This is the part where politicians and agency bureaucrats actively try to hide the economic havoc and dodge responsibility. Oh, yeah, they most definitely have. If you go on a nice little safari through the very difficult to navigate Bureau of Labor and Statistics website, which, by the way, is getting increasingly difficult to navigate these days, you'll notice that all of these numbers get carefully adjusted quietly about a half a quarter after the fact. And then they get adjusted again about 1/4 after the fact. And sometimes they get adjusted 2 or 3/4 after the fact. It is bizarre and unaccountable how the bookkeeping changes over time. Very, very bizarre and unaccountable. And Fred, our dearly beloved Fred, which is supposed to keep an eye on the money, well, they're once again declaring various types of archives obsolete and sunsetting various formulas, and various things are succumbing to a strange pandemic of 404C, and other dead ends on the internet. One thing that is still there that the goddess found highly ominous was the report that shows the amount of money our lender of last resort to banks, the Treasury, has been loaning to banks lately. The goddess thought that number was looking bad last week when it topped $360,000 million loaned to banks. It's still going up. That could get interesting. Well, let's take another look back in history here and see what this is all about. Winston Churchill's gold standard folly. Churchill's plan to restore gold's place in the monetary system was not the problem. Winston Churchill's resume was remarkable enough to earn him the title of Renaissance Man. Sandhurst educated soldier, journalist, painter, historian, world traveler, Nobel laureate, Member of Parliament, President of Board of Trade, Home Secretary, First Lord of the Admiralty, Secretary of State for the Colonies, Chancellor of the Exchequer, twice Prime Minister, statesman, wartime leader, and world-class orator. Dang, that man was talented. Though he had his ups and downs, his failures as well as successes, he remains one of the most important and respected figures of the 20th century. To fully understand any person, we must embrace that individual's life, warts and all. No human is superhuman. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody knows everything. Sometimes even the best people screw up. One of the biggest screw-ups in Churchill's storied career relates to a subject he never mastered: economics. I am personally a friend and advocate of the gold standard, but I believe when Churchill attempted to restore the British pound's connection to the yellow metal, he erred in a way that produced monumentally negative consequences for Britain and the world. The matters of money challenged Churchill showed up vividly in his handling of personal finances. He was a compulsive casino gambler, a poor stock market investor, and a constantly tardy debtor. He chronically overdrew his checking account. He purchased high-end wines, liquors, and cigars when he couldn't afford them. He was often behind on his taxes. In his 2016 book titled No More Champagne, Churchill and His Money, historian David Luff revealed the great man lived most of his life on a financial cliff edge. Luck, fame, and connections saved him from bankruptcy as much as anything. Britain suspended the pound's convertibility into gold during the calamity of World War I. Doing so allowed the government to print a volume of paper money its gold reserves wouldn't otherwise permit. The value of the pound fell, and price inflation soared. In the early 1920s, a public debate began around whether Britain should return to the discipline of the gold standard. Churchill initially opposed restoring gold backing. He thought paper money could be managed by smart planners. By the time he became Chancellor of the Exchequer, the equivalent of a Treasury Secretary, in 1924, he changed his mind. When he first introduced his national budget in 1925, he called for a return to the gold standard. He advised Parliament, "We are often told that the gold standard will shackle us to the United States. I will tell you what it will shackle us to. It will shackle us to reality. For good or ill, it will shackle us to reality. That is the only basis upon which we will be standing, and I believe it to be the only basis which offers any permanent security for our affairs. That is my first broad reason. The foundation of Great Britain's economic policy must be, as far as possible, based on reality. I say that what is wanted in the general interest of the wage earning classes of this country is a steady, trustworthy, honest, and if possible, uniform standard of value. The problem with the Churchill Plan was not restoring gold's place in the monetary system. It was fixing it at the pre war rate instead of a rate that reflected the paper pound's deterioration. Inflation cut the pound's value, but Churchill was too proud to admit it, so he restored gold convertibility at a rate that pretended the government had never inflated. That translated into pegging the pound against the American dollar at £1 equals $4.86, instead of the free market rate of £1 equal to $4.40. Churchill wanted to base Britain's economic policy on reality, but that's not quite what he delivered in 1925. The reality was the pound wasn't worth his rate declared. The late Austrian school economist Percy Greaves explained this flaw in his excellent book, Understanding the Dollar Crisis. Greaves, Murray Rothbard, Henry Hazlitt, and Hans Sennholz were the four best economists I personally ever knew. They were all in agreement on Greaves's analysis of Churchill's error. When England went back on the gold standard in April 1925 with the pound valued at $4.86, she had raised the value of the pound about 10% above its average value on the open market the previous year. This meant that England, which operated largely as a factory importing raw goods and exporting finished goods, had raised its export prices by roughly 10%. For Americans buying a British product that cost a pound sterling, the price was now $4.86 instead of $4.40. This seemingly minor price fixing mistake cascaded into a series of destructive results. British export industries suffered hugely, especially coal, leading to strikes and slowdowns. At the pound's artificial exchange rate Churchill fixed against gold and the dollar, Britain would have lost gold to the U.S. To help avoid that, America's Federal Reserve Bank depressed interest rates at home and deliberately weakened America's currency. In other words, to help Britain pretend the pound was stronger than it was, America's central bank acted to make the dollar weaker than it was. We know the rest of this painful story. Much of the currency and credit expansion and artificially cheap interest rates, the roaring 20s boom that set us up for the Great Depression, was prompted by Churchill's blunder and the Fed's efforts to paper it over. See Great Myths of the Great Depression for more on this sad saga of failed interventions. The proper policy for Britain in 1925 would have been to recognize the pound's real value and stabilize it by restoring gold convertibility at the market rate. The Great Depression might never have happened were it not for the monetary mischief of British and American governments in the 1920s and in subsequent years as well. No doubt Winston Churchill's economic intentions were good, but good intentions by themselves are never good enough. They desperately require good economics. Now, that was written by Lawrence Reed, who's FEE's President Emeritus. Okay? He does some very good work. And that is something that we all have to consider at this point. Because we all know that gold and silver and precious metals in general are heavily manipulated in terms of price. We also know that all fiat currencies inevitably collapse very badly And the longer you try to stave off the inevitability here, the worse said collapse is going to be. The question then becomes where and how and who is going to value gold and silver where they belong. Currently, the various banks are still bruiting about the magic number for this coming year of $2,500 for gold and $50 for silver. We shall see. But in the meantime, all that any normal person needs to know about this is gold and silver are still on sale, so this is a great time to back up the truck. Because if you don't hold it, you don't own it. That dollar cost averaging is always, always, always going to be your friend, and that thou shalt unbank thyself, lest thy fiat go poof. Bye.
I think I can speak for everyone here without fear of contradiction, thinking that it would be nice if Eva would just give us a strong opinion and not be bandy about things.
I am the very soul of diplomacy.
Really?
You know that.
Yes, ma'am. See how well the diplomacy works.
I am the very soul.
Honey Bunny says good night.
Good night, honey
Shaggy
bunny.
says have a good one. I am a good one. But anyhow, oh my goodness.
He say he a good one.
And Scott Ritter recently had a trip to Russia. I think he's on a book tour or something. And he reported a phenomenon which he says is actually quite humorous, in that with all of these sanctions on Russia, the oligarchs and billionaires in Russia are unable to take their profits from Russian activities and invest them other places. Therefore, they are willy-nilly forced by our policies to reinvest in Russia, which is causing a bit of an economic boom in Russia. Oh my goodness. It's just pretty hilarious. Yeah, Scott Ritter was one of the chief weapons inspectors in Iraq. Says there were no weapons of mass destruction. Another interesting person is Lieutenant Colonel McGregor, who was fairly high up in the Defense Department. He actually was commanding the unit that engaged in the Battle of 79 Easting in Iraq War, and he also has some pretty strong opinions on how this whole Ukrainian adventure is going to wind up, and it's not good for, as other people call it, the collective West, i.e., United States, Europe, Canada, and like that. You know, they've just been out in la la land, according to these guys, and according to them, the rational analysis of the numbers indicates that the whole concept of a Ukrainian victory just doesn't seem plausible because they're just outnumbered, outgunned, outproduced, the whole nine yards. It's hard to win when you run out of ammunition, sort of thing. That's their analysis. It seems pretty reasonable to me. I know that if Rock Butcher was here, he would probably disagree. And one thing that I find fascinating right now is on a number of subjects, you will find people that are manifestly intelligent, and manifestly of goodwill, such as Rock Butcher, a guy named Bill Whittle, something like this, that have uh, diametrically opposed opinions on major topics. And I find this fascinating because it indicates to me that you have almost like two different information streams. And you have one group of people, and it consists of lefties, righties, stuff like this, that are paying attention to this bunch of information. And then you have a different group of people that, again, can have both, although it tends to be more one or the other in each thing. It's different depending upon which way you're looking at various subjects, but that can rationally and reasonably come to an alternative conclusion, giving the information they're using. And I find that to be just quite fascinating to see how bifurcated the society is on so many issues. It's fascinating to me. I've never seen anything like it before that I can recall. At least nothing of this magnitude. Certainly, like in the Vietnam War, you had a situation where, we're winning and this and that and the other, and it's important to be there, was opposed by other viewpoints. And I say it's just fascinating to me to see that. Well, Honey Bunny, if you don't mind, what's your opinion on how this whole Ukrainian adventure is going to turn out without the use of nuclear weapons? Assuming that wild card is not thrown into the mix, do you see the outcome to be essentially a foregone conclusion at this point? And if so, where do you see it? I'm just curious what your opinion is. My opinion is, from the it seems to me, I don't think they've used small nukes, Shaggy. The whole depleted uranium stuff. I know the Russians had some pretty big explosions, but they were taking out ammunition supplies, which completed. It destroyed some depleted uranium ammunition too. Honeybuddy says it's set up to destroy everybody with or without nukes. Now, when you say everybody, okay, so globalists are seeking for maximum human lives lost. I have no data that would strongly contradict that. Indeed, certain things that have happened seem to be consistent with the theory that they're certainly not trying to preserve any lives. More like a dirty bomb sort of thing. I mean, it's a contaminant. Although I believe the uranium is actually more of a toxin than it is a radioactive contaminant. And well, I don't think literally everybody, but I think, Honey Bunny, essentially everybody but them might be a reasonable analysis. I haven't seen any of these people seem to be incredibly suicidal. That would not surprise me in the slightest, Honey Bunny. And Blind Dude, I agree completely. That's why I've been to the governor's office here in Montana asking the question of what is the Montana state government doing to make us more resilient to disruptions, supply chains, anything societal. Yeah, that would make sense, Honey Bunny, especially when they make these wonderful plans that go completely differently than they planned, and yet they don't change. They don't adapt. There's been a couple of ideas I've had on how to process Montana B ore that uh, simply didn't work too well. So we had to radically change the plan because you look at the data, you look at the results, and you go, it ain't working. That would not surprise me in the slightest, Honey Bunny, especially as they do seem to be quite delusional. Yeah, I keep getting a suspicion we're going to be in for some very interesting times. And the only thing that gives me a significant level of solace is that I don't think they can do it themselves. Um, we're the ones that do everything. There was a comedian recently that had a funny skit. She was talking about how millennials don't know how to write cursive and, read a paper map or this, that, or the other. And she said, so if they take over the world, all we got to do is write our battle plans in cursive on paper and they'll be helpless. And, while not directly, I believe the same thing. Like, well, we're going to do this and then this is going to happen. It's like, no, we're not going to cooperate. Yeah, I understand, blind dude. Wouldn't surprise me, honey bunny.
Biden was shaking hands with invisible people again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
His invisible playmate?
Don't know. He was visiting with the Kansas City Chiefs, and he started shaking hands with invisible people.
Sweet. Yeah. See, that's another thing. When you look at how stuff is reported and how bizarre and disconnected from reality things are, and not to my knowledge, honey bunny, but I say this sort of thing is like, it's clearly not coincident with reality. So, and yet you don't get a significant divergence of reporting. That's the thing that's quite disconcerting to me is that used to be you would get a divergence in reporting. For example, like during the 70s, you had the pro-war side, you had the anti-war side, this, that, and the other. These rioters were just evil scum, or these rioters were fighting for freedom, or whatever. But you'd see multiple sides, and now you don't. On the mainstream media, you basically see one side. And it's like, that's pretty peculiar. Again, that's a classic oddball thing, honey bunny. What is this push for trans stuff? Why? I mean, it's not popular.
Well, considering that each of the people that goes through this represents $1.5 million.
Well, yes, but why would all the politicians and the media and stuff be all pushing this whole thing? I mean, sure, the medical people that actually make money off it is, certainly a motivation for them, or the drug companies. But why would, let's say, Fox News and MSNBC be saying essentially the same thing? They're supposedly competitors.
This is interesting.
Strange. Yes, little one.
New York City Mayor Adams wants to pay residents to house illegal immigrants. He says that residents are having trouble paying their bills and making ends meet. They have room. They can house illegal immigrants.
Yeah, cool. Yes, I agree, Honey Bunny, and that, although it does seem he's getting a little bit, I wouldn't say reticent, but concerned maybe, especially on the AI thing. Some people will, blind dude. Absolutely. But we didn't have January 6th because everybody was going along, you know? That wouldn't surprise me a bit, Honey Bunny. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. So, Honey Bunny says she saw that just a few minutes ago. But this creates a very difficult to predict system. You know, we don't know what's going to happen because, first of all, our information is limited. We don't have full information on who's doing what and why, but then there's nothing new about that. Uh, the other thing is that it's inherently so big and so novel that, in my opinion, it becomes relatively unpredictable. You can't tell what happens when you're doing something new. The law of unintended consequences shows up, Murphy's law shows up, etc. Elon is also playing a split game because he has to make money to keep Twitter going too, you know, and so that becomes um, that becomes a real problem for him. That's correct, Jeff. They're very good on offense and changing the subject. Okay, and that again, it creates a very unstable situation. Um, but I believe that free people um, are much more adaptable than slaves, drones, whatever you want to call it. And therefore, when things hit the fan, the people who are somewhat free or insisting on being free um, will wind up being able to adapt what other people won't. This is in a complex supply chain. Hmm, you know, where do you get that? That's why I think gold is a good thing. Food would be a good thing too. We have a bunch of what are the Hooterites? You said, little one.
Yeah, Hooderites.
Hooterites near here that do have a lot of greenhouses and stuff. So that's a good thing. Honey Bunny says a woman was arrested for protesting a trans male in her gym locker room today. Wouldn't surprise me, Honey Bunny. I also think that certain people are trying to push the other side into outright violence, whereas the other side can see that this deck is stacked against them and therefore don't want to take that step. But there comes a point where somebody somewhere is going to say, screw it. And then things are going to get real interesting. You know? Agreed, Honey Bunny. I don't know about the one, but 2 and 3 I agree with. I don't necessarily think they care a heck of a lot how it's done. So, anyhow, let's say we're in kind of uncharted territory. Um, Civil war is one way, social collapse is another. Especially, take a look at, say, Los Angeles. If it becomes extremely difficult, relatively impossible to move stuff on the highways, how long does Los Angeles function? I would agree with that concept, honey bunny. Whether or not that's the plan, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me at all. It also doesn't help when you just let millions of people across the border without seeing who the heck they are.
Speaking of which, a couple of plane loads of some size apparently landed in Sacramento.
A couple of plane loads of illegals just showed up in Sacramento
I don't
today.
know what size plane, but
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it wasn't Cessnas, you know.
I don't know. I mean, I think they used Cessnas to get them onto Martha's Bucket.
No, no, they used at smallest those little twin turboprop things.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just can't move enough people with with little Cessnas. I think that may also be their weakness, but you've also got people like Mod Vlad and Xi Jinping that are actively working against their plans and that have substantial resources to throw
Wow.
monkey wrenches.
New York City now has vending machines that give you free Narcan and drug testing strips.
Yeah. I agree, honey, but at this point, I don't think there is necessarily much benefit to trying to educate people on what we may believe is going on because we're past the point of being able to change it relatively peacefully and simply. I think it's going to come down to at least 1960s level civil disorder. I don't know, honey bunny. You're probably a lot more connected than I am. Yeah, that's kind of my thought, Shaggy, that we're getting to the point where there's no easy way back. It's all interesting. I mean, it's all difficult. So we'll just have to see. And, we've been prepping for years because there's always risks out there.
Prep for Tuesday, not for Doomsday.
Yeah. And say, we shall see what we shall see. I also think this may be why the establishment Republicans keep pushing DeSantis and like that. And so many people are just like saying, no, because they see it's not going to do any good to put another establishment in person in power. We're going to need a real disruptor. And the only one they can really see that's shown, real bona fides as a disruptor is Trump, you know? Yeah, another thing around here, honey bunny, is there's a lot of, what would you call it? Wheeling and dealing, where people trade stuff back and forth and things like this. There also seems to be a mindset up here of don't get rid of it, just park it. It may come in handy someday. Might be able to sell it someday. Might be able to use it someday. And so there's a lot of stuff just sitting in fields around here. I mean, you just go drive down the 2-lane highways, and I mean highways, and you'll see on a regular basis in somebody's acreage there 20, 30, 40 cars all parked in an array, a back 40, somebody just collecting stuff. And so that's one reason we're happy to be here. Plus, this state theoretically has the capacity to be self-sufficient in almost everything, and that's why I want to talk to the governor's office and actually talk to somebody who's working on something like that and say, what are you doing? What have we done in this state to protect against EMP? What have we done in this state to protect against energy shortages and things like that? What's being done? There's a lot that can be done relatively inexpensively. But all I can see is a bunch of windmill parts moving down the road on a regular basis, which, in my opinion, is not going to be terribly beneficial in the long run. But so far, we haven't. I guess, let's see. Close this, open another. Let's see. Term session of the Montana legislature. But I think part of it is right now the legislature is in session, and as such, they're real busy doing a bunch of things. So review calendar. Okay. See how this helps. Request deadlines, introduction deadlines, transmittal deadlines, days not in session. Okay. So it started at the latest Monday, the 2nd of January. Okay, because that's what I'm seeing here, January 23. And the last it shows is May 5th. Leg day 89, whatever the hell that means. But I don't see anything past that. Don't know what a leg day is. Does anyone know what a leg day is?
It may be short for legislative.
Yeah, you're probably right. Probably stands for legislative. Legislative day 90 would be Friday the 5th of May. So the legislature may be out of session now.
No, we can still start going and bothering the government.
Converns on the first Monday in January of each odd-numbered year. General legislative days, general bills, deadlines are determined according to legislative days. Certain bills and resolution transmitted anytime during the session. In accordance with 522 MCA. Okay, it starts first Monday in January, but it doesn't say how long it goes to. I'm guessing it's over now. I haven't seen anybody really kicking butt and taking names, and I'm not sure why. There are certain things that have happened that any district attorney could file, a complaint on, and we haven't seen it. So again, it makes it very, very hard to figure out exactly what's going on and what you can do. But we'll just, like the old sailors, you just ride the weather the best we can, pick a target and head for it, and hope that things cooperate. All the time being aware that things might go catastrophically awry at any time. Jeff says 90-day meetings in odd-numbered years. That seems consistent with what I found. Thank you, Jeff. So, yeah, we need to get back to the governor's office and see if anyone can talk to us about anything. We haven't even gotten any response. We filed 3
Yeah, well,
written
sometimes it takes time.
requests, and we haven't seen anything. Yeah, but according to this, it's been a month since the legislature completed its session, little one. So it makes me wonder, do they really care? And so like, circular file. I don't know, but I would like to get better information. I know certain places like California state legislature, the New York state legislature, the Illinois state legislature, they aren't doing a damn thing, you know? Yeah, it's also interesting that the Biden administration wanted 90,000 new IRS agents or something like
Governor Newsom is now threatening DeSantis with kidnapping charges as a second jet full of migrants arrives in California. I'm pretty sure if you ask the migrants, they probably prefer California.
I would be willing to bet you they all signed a waiver too.
Yeah.
I do not think DeSantis would have put them on a plane without
as
signing a waiver for that very reason.
It's not kidnapping when they want to go there. And plus, Mr. Kendall, if you recall, California is a sanctuary state.
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, they can jack up with you and the governor's mansion.
Yeah. Yeah. I say it's all this is just totally unprecedented as far as I'm concerned. So weird. Anyhow, we probably better call it a day here before we get the algorithm really annoyed. But yeah, it's a very interesting situation. The Ukrainians apparently started their lofty offensive today. So far, the reports are with rather poor results from their standpoint, which is exactly what I would expect when you have so much warning. CorbettReport.com, huh? Okay. Let me write that down. CORBETT report.com. Okay. Come on. Work, you stupid fingers. Well, in my opinion, a libertarian or a conservative is a liberal who can do math and read history books. Aside from that, I mean, most people, okay, now you have a significant number of sociopaths, but most people don't want to hurt other people, don't care to control other people, want to be left alone, prosperous, have a good time, go fishing, go bar hopping, whatever they like to do, and just be left alone to do that. And the reason that you have certain things like communism that are so popular is because it's like, oh, well, this will make things better. Do the math, read history books. When has communism ever made anything better? Hasn't. Socialism, when has it ever made anything better? Hasn't. So
man's endless quest for free stuff.
Yeah. There's no such thing as a free lunch. That just is the way reality is. Live with it. So, all righty. Well, it's been interesting, but we gotten way off of the mining field here. I can see we only got 6 people watching at this time. Absolutely, honey bunny. If they would just leave us alone, it wouldn't matter. But it does matter, And for that reason, we can't ignore it. Darn it. Like to. To a great extent, I'll go with that, Honey Bunny. Um, are there any mining questions or subjects or anything before we call it a night here? Oh, I probably will, Honey Bunny. Oh, gotta get ready to rock and roll tomorrow. Yay, finally get back in the field. It's been, what, early November? Yeah, I agree, Honey Bunny. Let's see. So November, December, January, February, March, April, May. 7 months since we've been in the field. Wow. Sucks. Been keeping fairly busy though. But yeah. I think entropy is their worst enemy, Honey Bunny. So anyhow, failing to see any other mining related thing showing up, I will call it a night then. And thanks for showing up, everybody. And y'all take care of yourselves and have a good week. And you know how to get a hold of me if you got any questions or whatever. So we'll go from there. Yes, Jeff, we got, first of all, by continuing down in the current location, we should find better ore. Whether or not it's good enough, we should already be in the good ore according to the chip sampling. And if that doesn't work, there's other mine shafts in that close area that's on those claims that we can explore. Jeff Kablock is going to be here in August. He wants to give us about a 10-ton bulk sample of one of his dumps, I presume in exchange for the research that we would do on it to try and turn it into gold. And then we got the top of the hill prospect area to start searching probably in about a week. We'll start doing the survey on that. And by the way, Jeff Williams had a good video today or yesterday or something on using drones. Apparently now you can rent a drone with a magnetometer or a LiDAR. And so that might have some real interesting applications for us. Yeah, supposedly running about 1 ounce to the ton, Honey Bunny. So say that, good luck. We may have to fire up the gravity separation stuff too, of which I've got 2 different devices, depending upon whether or not there's substantial other metallic minerals in there or whether it's pretty clean gold ore. 2 different ways of dealing with it with just equipment that I've developed myself. I understand, Honey Bunny. Say the thing that he was saying was that you can rent them. So yeah, I said there's lots of interesting things going on, and we're planning on having a very interesting and busy summer. But how profitable it will be in terms of gold production, I haven't the faintest idea at this point. We're not in the money right now, but we have several possibilities. So I hope that answers your question. Anything else? Gravity versus smelting. Unless you had an extraordinarily rich ore or you already had a smelter that needed the main thing. For example, if you had a smelter and it was gold in a quartz vein, then you might very well just smelt it down because you're using the quartz as flux. But other than that, the energy costs and stuff are vastly higher versus a pre-concentration first. So that's it. I say we got a number of different um, types. If you have something like a Deister table or a Wolfley table, it's a continuous flow operation. So if you had like a lot of heavy minerals that were valuable, say um, lead with uh, silver in it, you'd want a continuous flow thing that gives you this constant stream of concentrates. On the other hand, if you had something like that, or Ryan had in southern Arizona, but it's basically was just quartz and gold. That was it. There wasn't hardly anything else, and very little iron minerals at all. And so that's when I developed the trip concentrator for it. It's designed basically to get gold and concentrate it out of a stream of crushed minerals.
Is this pasty all for me?
Pardon?
Is this pasty all for me?
Yes, that is all yours, little one.
Okay.
So there's different methodologies depending upon what you want. Yeah, for you it might be Honey Bunny. For most people it isn't. And therein lies the conundrum, But I have no idea what kind of ore might be at top of the hill. The stuff in Montana B has got way too fine a gold for gravity separation. And it doesn't seem to do a good job just concentrating the iron minerals. First of all, they make up like a third of the ore, and therefore your concentration is going to be relatively modest. You still wind up with something that has a lot of gang to your gold. So why bother crushing and concentrating when you're just going to be leaching anyway? As long as you're happy and not gratuitously dangerous, who cares if you're sane, Honey Bunny? Define sane. Have you got issues? We all have issues. Are you out of touch with reality? I haven't seen anything that would indicate that you're out of touch with reality. You have an unusual way of dealing with the world, but it's not that odd as far as I can see.
It's not like this business attracts normal people.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, and he was right. This particular specialty is not for normal people. Not by my definition, Honey Bunny. But a lot of people are conventional because of fear. Okay. I would agree with you on that, but that doesn't mean they're sane. Look at this recent medical situation we had, and some of the crazy stuff were done out of fear. Was that sane? Not in my opinion. Honey Bunny, I have a philosophy. Normal means average, and you can't be exceptional if you're average. So, don't worry about being normal. Normal just means you're not exceptional. So, I don't worry about it. Okay, anything else out there? We should be doing a number of very interesting videos this summer on preliminary exploration stuff because of this. Oh ho, oh ho 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 ho.
Well,
Shaggy, I'm hurt.
With some more of our casserole stuff.
I'm brokenhearted. You're welcome, Jeff. Thank you for the question.
With some more stuff.
Yep. Anyhow, So that's about it for this week. Hopefully we'll have some more fun stuff next
Hopefully
week.
We should have a video this week.
Yeah, we should have a field video this week. With something besides fishing. Well, of course, Honey Bunny, but it's true. I mean, it's kind of manifestly true that normal can't be exceptional. Otherwise, it wouldn't be normal. You know? All righty. Well, I'll call it a night then. You guys take care. And thank you for the prayers from my brother. And so I say, hopefully, we'll get some good news from the hospital here shortly. Yeah, Honey Bunny, we just had a half an afternoon to run around and do something, and so I thought I would. Yeah, okay, I know that one. How about this one?
Caught me some fish.
Tuesday, June 27th. Tuesday, June 27th. Yeah. That's, oh, you might make that one, little one. 10:30 appointment for me at physical therapy. Yeah, it's already on my calendar.
Physical therapy?
Yeah, physical therapy. All righty. Well, you guys take care. And
I need to be there for it.
No, I said that one you might want to go to, though, because it's so late. Anyhow, all righty. I got some interesting ideas on that too, Honey Bunny. So happy prospecting and keep it safe out there.